Hey guys, I'm at the office right now. No one's here, but I'm gonna make a video on habits. So, there are three crucial things to habits. First, you have the cue, then, you have the routine, then, you have the reward. So, to create a habit and this sort of kind of addiction and a purposeful addiction that you want to create for yourself, you can utilize these three core principles of forming a habit, whether to recognize if it's a negative habit or a positive habit. Say, this even applies for like smoking, binge drinking, dating apps, or you can use these to kind of form cool shit like deep work or creation, the gym, or whatever. So, in first with the habits, with a cue, this is gonna look like the cue starts off with something that will continually happen in the beginning of the habit that will kind of kickstart your brain to be like, oh shit, it's time for this habit, or this habit is going to come up. So, one cue that I've done before for myself is when I would be in my deep work bouts, I would have a cup of coffee right before doing my deep work. So, cup of coffee. And I consistently would do this in the morning when I wake up, like get ready, and then start my cup of coffee, wait for it, be like, and then I would have this cup of coffee ready, and then this would have my brain be like, okay, this is where I'm gonna start doing deep work. So after I would have my cup of coffee and take my sip, this is when I would have my routine of getting into my deep work bout. And essentially, since I have the cue going for me, this is gonna cascade into doing the routine. Initially, this had to be like, it didn't come easy at first. Like, starting this deep work routine started with like, okay, at least I'm gonna sit down and do this, even if I don't get as much work I would initially want to do. I'm still creating the routine of sitting down at my desk and just having my laptop open or my journal or whatever I'm working on, and at least I'm working on something and creating that consistency. So after I would have the cue of coffee, it would just be like, okay, I associate drinking a cup of coffee in the morning with doing this deep work. And then to solidify this routine and cue, you need a reward. So this reward for me, after doing it for a couple hours of deep work in the morning, I would eat breakfast, and that would have a natural release of like dopamine and all that, since, you know, like food. And then I would have this positive reinforcement of this whole cascading system of like cue to routine to reward. And yeah. And then as you can see, like, the cue is essential for creating the habit, as this is kind of what kickstarts the whole bout of going about the habit. But this framework is also implemented and seen in like negative habits where you could let's see, I'm trying to think of like the example of vaping. So when I used to vape a lot, like, the cue for wanting to vape would be like feelings of discomfort So that could be like boredom or being upset. And I would kind of want to subdue that. So the routine would be, okay, I'm gonna vape. Okay, vape. And then I would kind of associate these feelings of comfort with being able to subdue it with the vape, because the vape would give me a release of dopamine, which would reinstate that whole framework of cue, routine, reward, cue, routine, reward. So to kind of go against this, if you want to break a habit, you would have to recognize the cue. So recognizing this cue is ideal into being able to build and break habits, as you don't want to have multiple habits having the same cue. But also, once you recognize the cue, you kind of have this moment of clarity and being able to recognize it before the routine actually comes. So the way I broke this was, I would recognize the cue of feeling discomfort, and then I would change what my routine would be, which would be to sit it out and wait. So I would try to implement it the best I could with when I would be in the habit of vaping. I recognize the cue of the feelings of discomfort, kind of peppering it towards vaping, but instead of replacing the routine of vaping, I would just watch it and be like, okay, I'm fucking feeling uncomfy, or I'm feeling bored. Let me just sit here and watch it. And then eventually, after like 5 or 10 minutes, the feeling of like wanting to vape and like the feelings of discomfort would just simmer out and pass through as it's a feeling. And then that would actually be the reward, would be passing of uncomfy. So yeah. But I think it's cool to kind of use this framework in recognizing habit formation, to be able to leverage this for your own development or whatever you want to do, or you can do it with like creating specific cues for the gym. Say like before you go to the gym, you play the specific song or binaural beats or whatever, and then that ushers you to go to the gym, and then after the gym barred, and you can drink your protein shake or whatever, and that's natural dopamine right there, which is the reward for your habit. But yeah, hope this helped, and yeah, I love you. Stays well, and then I'll see you in the next video.